in child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection, okay? And that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This is someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. True. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabrina, and I'm your host for today. This is CPS, the reality series, the CPS horror stories. I have Jennifer here as my guest today, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So, hi, Jennifer. Do you want to go ahead and tell us what's been going on?
Sure. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer. I have been battling CPS and all that for quite some time. It's been a very rough road. I am currently in hiding. I have 5 children. My oldest one will be 18 this year. My second oldest one is 14. My next one, he's 13. And my 2 youngest are 10 and 8. I currently live in Florida. And it's not just me. It's a lot of other people here in Florida that are fed up with CPS and what they've gone through and what they've made us parents go through.
Absolutely. So do you have custody of your kids at the moment?
No, ma'am, I do not.
No. Okay. So how about, are you in reunification? Are you doing services, or where are you at right now with everything?
In 2016, they TPR'd me, and I haven't been able to speak to most of my children. My oldest one was adopted out under duress, and I'm still currently looking for him. The other 4 children were taken, and false accusations. I actually called the hotline to report abuse with my parents who had the children, and they just railroaded me. So I have done parental classes, domestic violence classes, things like that during the case. But one thing after another. They took my house from me. They took my jobs from me. They took my transportation from me. They took everything from me, including my children.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I hear this a lot, actually. It's just ridiculous. So can I ask you what exactly went down why did they take the kids in the first place?
Well, I was living in Massachusetts at the time, and their biological father was very abusive. And someone had called while my parents were coming to visit. And because of that, they had taken my two middle children and placed them in foster care. My parents came and got them and got guardianship. They moved down here to Florida, and I moved in with my grandmother. She eventually, during that part of the case, passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
And I was going through that. I was going through the abuse and trauma there. I was also going through some trauma and abuse with my family as well. And then I met this really nice guy who I thought was nice. And we started, hanging out. And for a couple of years, we got to know each other. And then all of a sudden, here comes my next two kids. And while I'm dealing with DCF in Massachusetts and my parents having guardianship, they threw me out of the house again. And I fought every step of the way. And they took and sheltered that child with my parents, and then sheltered the other youngest child with my parents later on.
So are all the kids together?
No, they are not. They were promised to be together, and they separated them completely.
Of course. That's a shame. It really is.
Yeah.
So what originally were they telling you? Were they telling you that they're just coming in and taking the kids and then you can do your services to get them back? What exactly did they tell you the deal was going to be?
Well, they asked me to do a safety plan.
Okay.
I didn't really want to sign it, but they basically forced me to.
Right.
I asked what services extra I could do. I would do any type of service that they had asked me to. I passed. I went to multiple therapists. I had a few therapists tell me that I was completely crazy for getting my children back and that I'd never win. I've had a social worker tell me that this was going to be the biggest part of her career. And that,
oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I mean, this social worker has gone above and beyond disturbing things that she's done, like falsifying documentation, like telling me that she's going to be a counselor when she gets out of this, and she's going to help other children with special needs, things like that. She at one point told me that she didn't want any children.
Wow.
Oh yeah. She was off the wall. And come to find out, she was fresh out of college. She wasn't married. She had no idea how to raise children, especially my children.
Yep.
And it was just terrifying all the way around to go through that for years.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know where they get half of these workers from, really. And the people, I mean, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of the workers that I've come in contact with or heard about, they seem to always be the same type of person. Like they really need to feel like they're in charge, like they're the boss, that they're in control. And the second that you try to, make it any different, they can't take it. So they start making up all kinds of stuff, twisting words, putting words in your mouth.
Yep.
And it's just, over and over again seems to be the same kind of a case.
It is. It really is. Now, I'm not saying that there's not any good social workers, because I've come across a few, and
a few,
they are very, very rare in this world. And
they usually don't end up staying very long.
No, they do not.
Yeah.
They're the ones that actually do care and try to make a difference. And, just these people that are cold-hearted, ratchet, actually, to even come into somebody's home and destroy it to a T. It's just disgusting. And then just to sell them for profit. It's truly amazing what I have found in my research and how I've been dealing with this and coping with all of it for all these years.
Right. Yeah, I went through kind of the same thing. And when I started researching and realized how much money they were making to take away the kids, and then they get federal bonuses on top of that.
Oh,
that is not how the system should work. It's really just not okay.
Oh, no. I found out years later that each of my children were sold for $500,000.
Oh, my goodness. How did you find this out?
I did my research.
Yeah, good for you.
There's things out there on Google that you would never expect are connected, and it's obliterating, to understand this world. Like, you think that you're going forward and this world will turn you upside down and around and spit you out and chew you out.
Yep. I completely agree. So are you able to have contact with your children now?
I have had some contact with my 14-year-old. He was doing good. However, in the last recent times that I've tried to speak with him, he's been Baker acted through this whole thing almost about 10 times. They have him on a meth byproduct drug, which I don't believe in drugs. I don't like taking Tylenol or anything like that. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm a recovering, marijuana addict, whatever you want to call it. I've done everything I could possibly to have my children, and they still denied me to this day.
That is just ridiculous. So you did all of the classes, you're doing the drug test, and they still...
Oh, they hit me with a drug test in the paperwork. I've never done methamphetamine in my life, so why should I have 6 methamphetamines on my record?
Yeah, they have been known for falsifying drug test results.
Oh,
that is a definite. I remember when I was going through my deal, my counselor that I had at first, she really did not like me because, I'm telling her all the things that have gone down, and she's like telling me I'm lying because it just sounds so crazy. Okay. And then she come to find out that it all really was the case. And especially with the drug test, she called me in her office and she said, look, I have to tell you something. She said, you came back positive for every single drug, and that is impossible. So we know that that's not correct. But CPS doesn't care. My counselor, had brought it to their attention that I have other tests from the same week that were completely clean, so they don't care. They still don't care. And if you don't test, it's also a dirty, and it's just a way for them to be able to break you down, to be able to take your children and make you look like you're a bad parent.
Oh, yeah. And that's exactly what they did to me. They tore me to a core, and it got to the point where I found out that my guardian ad litem, which is supposed to be my lawyer, which I don't understand why I had a guardian ad litem in the first place.
Yeah.
If I'm over the age of 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
And the first one was having lunch with my soon-to-be ex-husband's lawyer and the judge at the time. And then on top of it, I had another lawyer from the same council, regional council, to tell me in court to shut up. And then I went and found a lawyer that was, now I'm not racist. We all bleed the same. Okay.
Yep.
And to be honest, I went out and found this lawyer on my own. I begged and pleaded for help. He went to the TPR and we lost. I didn't even get pulled into court to be told that I lost my children. My ex, or soon to be ex-husband, actually found out before I did by his lawyer. And then while he was at work, I was staying in a hotel, and I texted the DCF worker, hey, when's our next visit? And she's like, call your lawyer. And I call my lawyer. My lawyer tells me I lost my rights.
Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. And so they didn't give you a public defender?
They gave me whatever they wanted to give me.
Yes.
I call it a public pretender.
Absolutely. I do too.
I mean, they may be in the bar association, but still, those people that work for DCF and all of that, they are connected in each and every way.
They are.
And it's so hard to decipher who's who and who's great because there's so much corruption in all of it.
Absolutely, there is. Yeah. And like you said, they all are in cahoots together. They all work together. The lawyers, the child attorney, the judge, the whoever else is in the courtroom, they're all working together. So your public pretender really does not have your best interest.
Or the children's.
Yeah, it is so important to do your homework and have a decent lawyer, which I know we all can't do that. It's pretty difficult.
It really is difficult finding a lawyer. I have gone through more than 50 lawyers in years, and not one of them have been willing to take my case. Not one.
Wow.
They're too afraid. They say it's career suicide.
Wow. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
So how are the kids now then? Are they in with family or foster parents, or you said one of them was adopted out, right?
My oldest one has been adopted out since he was 3 days old. I haven't seen him or spoke to him. My second oldest, my Mikey Bear, he is 14. He is out of state, and I did not give consent for that. My son did call me and ask me about moving to a school, but not to another state. And last I knew, he was being Baker acted during Christmas after I just spent $2,075 on him, including buying him a limited edition Minecraft Xbox.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And I texted him on Valentine's Day, and he, responded, I love you, Mom. And then I texted him on St. Patrick's Day, which was yesterday, and I got no response at all.
Wow.
Yeah. My 13-year-old, I believe, is on a website called Forever Home. It's, I guess, an adoption agency or group home or whatever. And to me, the ad looks like, you know, those commercials where you have the dogs and they've been abused and hurt.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Right. So picture a child and having a newspaper article like that. Okay. That's what they're doing to children here in Florida. Okay.
Yeah. Everywhere, really.
So my 13-year-old's doing that. My 10-year-old, I have no idea where he is. None at all. No contact at all.
Wow.
And then my youngest one, on my birthday, I found him on the Forever Home website trying to be sold off.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And then a couple of weeks ago, they took him off the site. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've been struggling with parental alienation since my first son was born. And the court fraud, I mean, it doesn't just start here in Florida. It is everywhere. I've talked to people in Australia, England. I've talked to people in the UK. I mean, it's everywhere in the United States. It's everywhere in the world.
It really is.
I mean, these connections are, I don't know if I can say this or not. Just let me know if I can't. But everyone, I don't know if they know about Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, well, I'll make that short and quick. Well, the same entity that I have to deal with down here is the same entity that worked with Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I found out during the whole trial with Miss Maxwell, by the way.
Wow.
And she got 65 years for human trafficking.
Yep.
And I'm still working on getting all the court documentation together and gathering all my evidence because there's so much throughout everything through the years. Yeah. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the hospitals are hiding records on me. It's gotten to the point where the police department has harassed me over the years. They put me in jail for holding on to salt. Public salt at that. Oh, yeah. And the charge was disturbing the peace. Oh, yes. It's just been a roller coaster ride throughout the years. I found out the mayor was involved, the town council. I couldn't get services until they signed off. I mean, it's just been one hell of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just amazing what they put us through. You know, no parent should have to go through this. I mean, unless you really do need your children taken away, but 90% of the time, it does not seem to be that way. And
the actual charge that they charged me with was malicious. What was it? Malnutrition on my children. Like, they didn't hit me with neglect. They didn't hit me with any of that. They hit me with something small and stupid.
Wow. And was this after you took the child into a doctor's office or a hospital? Or?
Oh, it wasn't just that. My mother took one of my children to the doctor's office after his father, that child's father, literally confronted us on the street and flipped my mother on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And the police didn't do anything for that. Okay? There's records that are missing. There are things that are not even being spoke of in this town. Like, current events like the 14-year-old boy in an 8x8 box in Egret Landing.
All that, yes.
Arizona DCS sold him to those parents, and they continued to do that from Arizona to Florida. Now, I got to give the police department credit for saving that child. I give them that. But why bring that child back to the same entity that sold him?
Right.
Where is those children's rights? That's my question. Why are they being told to shut up? Why are they being drugged? Why are they being Baker acted when they are screaming for their mother? Because
Yep.
I'm gonna flat out tell you, my child who's 14 now, he was 7 years old. He's still screaming to this day that he wants his mother. His Christmas wish was to have a relationship with his mother.
Right.
Why are you keeping him from his mother?
It's just crazy. I mean, if a child was being abused or neglected or shouldn't be in that home, it's pretty rare that they're begging to come home and wanting to be at home for Christmas, you know?
Right. My children have never been touched by me in the wrong way. They have been touched by my parents in the wrong way, and I will state that. And by the way, I just paid $12,000 for their actual house to keep going because they felt so much in debt because they allowed vagrants to be in their house and steal from them.
Oh, that's not good.
After they threw me out of the house and ejected me by court order. I literally had to walk 200 miles with 7 bags on my back to Lakeland to even start to even heal in my own way.
Right. See, what really bothers me about all this is that CPS is so quick to take away children from parents like yourself who seem to be, you know, pretty great parents, especially compared to the parents I had, you know, and instead of doing that, I mean, they should be going after the kids that actually need to be removed. The children who absolutely need to be removed are not. And the ones that are pretty much okay, you know, things happen, you know. I mean, it's life. Nobody is perfect. But to lose your family over something so minor, it's just really, really mind-blowing.
Oh, yes. It truly is mind-blowing. I mean, I have video documentation and pictures of my children showing up, and they're at visits, and they got bumps and bruises. And I have one video where my 7-year-old is literally being touched by the DCF worker like this, being basically told to shut up because he knows how his little brother got that bruise.
That is ridiculous.
I have video documentation of my children telling me who did the abuse and that they want to come home.
Right. They don't listen to the kids. They really don't.
No, they don't.
I can't even tell you how many visits that I went on where my daughter was telling me in front of the worker about abuse going on with my mother who was fostering her at the time. And instead of actually listening to the child and looking into the situation, they're more concerned about your reaction and what you're going to answer back to your child. And if you make any kind of promise or if you get upset or cry or say anything about it, you're the one in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, aren't you guys listening to what the kids are saying?
No, they're not.
Just completely ridiculous.
They're violating their constitutional rights.
Yeah. One social worker, she would promise my daughter ice cream.
Oh, yes.
Take her in her own car and drive her to the ice cream shop. But if my daughter didn't tell her what she wanted to hear, she would not get her ice cream.
Oh, my God.
Like, what is this about? How is that okay?
Tell me why a social worker would take my child from a visit to a doctor or even back from a visit from me, back to her own house for a night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tell me why the social worker was texting my soon-to-be ex-husband during the case. Midnight, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
He'd sneak off and go somewhere. I never fully knew exactly who he was sneaking off to go see. I mean, a couple women I found over the years, but I mean, it's just ridiculous how things are going. I got people telling me that he's got another child with some other lady in another county, in another town. Oh, yeah.
The social workers is communicating with him and not you.
Oh, yeah. The social worker was communicating more with him than with me. And she was making me angry and upset and crazy. And I went above and beyond trying to get help. No one would help me. Certain churches are involved. Certain people in the high end are involved. It's just disgusting how this is going.
It really is. Yeah. You know, I just recently saw this story. It even made the news, actually, in Michigan. This lady in her early 20s stepped up and took her sister's child because she couldn't care for him. And 5 weeks into it, the child stopped eating food. So she takes the child to the ER, and they did a bunch of tests. Well, the doctor came back and said it's shaken baby syndrome. She gets 15 years in prison for it. Well, 5 years into her sentence, the I forgot what they're called. The Innocence Program stepped in and helped her and went over the doctor records and realized that the child actually had a stroke. It had nothing to do with the parenting at all. And so she was able to get out of prison after 5 years. But at that point, the child had already been adopted out, and she was told there was nothing that they could even do about it.
Oh, yeah. They tell me that there's nothing I can do about it. Leave it alone. I've had the adoptive parents for my 14-year-old tell me, don't talk about lawyers. Don't talk about bank accounts. Basically, you have no rights to your child that you bared.
Right.
And that's disgusting. And that's candy coating it. I mean,
absolutely.
You want to call them Fuddruckers. You want to call them Department of Children's Sales. You want to call them human trafficking. Call it what you will. It's still the same. Children for profit.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean,
do the foster parents let you see your children?
Nope.
Are they on good terms with you? No.
Nope. I have never done a video conference with them. I have only spoken by phone. I've had witnesses sit right there with me by phone. I've had my mother speak to my son, and my son has forgiven my mother, but not my stepfather. My stepfather is actually 83 years old with dementia.
Oh.
And let me tell you, he's given us a whirlwind roller coaster all over again.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, I'll say this. No child should be hit with a belt. No child should be told that their mother's name is Jennifer and you're to call her that. No child should be told that your mother is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? If your child wants to speak to you, your child should have every right to speak to you. If my child wants to come home to me, and I will say this now, any child of mine that wants to come home to me is more than welcome to come home to me. They will have a phone number to call. They will call that number, tell them where they are located, and those children will have a ride to come home. In fact, I am an advocate for runaways, for Department of Children and Families and Children. Anyone that has ran away, that does need a safe space here in Florida. Can I say the county?
I think that's fine, yeah.
Okay. anyone that is in the Palm Beach County area that is a runaway, I do have a phone number you can contact me or an email. We will set you up on working with getting something started to protect your rights as children or as adults that have aged out. We are trying to start a nonprofit organization, not only for the runaways, but also for children rights here in Florida. There's not so much help.
That is so wonderful that you're doing that.
I'm also starting to go to school here and there to be a lawyer. I've been doing my own research on that for many, many years. In fact, I just found out deprived parental rights is actually a third-degree felony in the United States. And I'm going to attempt to make it May 21st, 2022 to Washington, D.C., the Lincoln Memorial. We're going to throw some shoes there for the lost children because, to be honest with you, there's 18,000 children missing in the state of Florida alone.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking.
And I feel for every parent that has to go through what I've gone through and then some. Because there's still some parents that are not even here to even see this fight that's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing this for me or my children. I'm doing it for all the children. Because they have the right to speak. They have a voice. They have a choice. The constitutional fundamental rights, they all deserve that, no matter what age limit it is. Because there is no age limit on the constitutional rights.
I think it's so wonderful that you're doing all that.
It is. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt so much love without knowing the community that I've had to go through and having the support now that I do. I only have a few supporters. I'm looking to gain more. I'm looking to help. You know, if anyone wants to help me, I'm up for it. You know, it's a great opportunity to be on this show and tell my story, tell what's going on, really.
Yeah.
Because no judge, I had no jury at the time, and they're just trying to make it to where family court has juries. Texas, I think, just did that. You know, and I know somewhere on the Fight CPS page, they've been talking about civil rights struggles and, you know, all that. And I've gone through this for years without any help.
Yes, I agree. I had to go through all of this too before this show. And I am so blessed that I am able to talk to you right now and that I was able to find this show about Vince Davis and everything, because I learned that everything that had gone on in my case was completely illegal. I mean, completely. And I would have done anything to have this back then, because I'm telling you, my life would be so much different now. You know, you don't think that when you go there that they're going to lie to you or, you know,
give you false hope.
Exactly. I literally signed in the hallway with the investigative worker who I never could reach again. And nothing she said happened. Nothing at all.
Oh, get this one. I had a police officer after he went to the school and removed my children. And this is the kicker. He asked me out on a date right at the corner store, off duty.
Unbelievable. Jeez.
I mean, it's this whole intertwined thing is just ridiculous. You can sit here and say it's a story. You can sit here and say it's the truth. It's my experience. I've gone through it. No one can change my mind. Those children are my blood. They are more than welcome to come home anytime they want.
Yeah. So when you were dealing with all the courts and everything, what is the last thing they left you with? Did they tell you that you no longer have the right to see your children ever again? Did they tell you? Yeah.
They flat out. Okay, so in May of 2015, they told me that I could have reunification. I just had to have a house. So I came up with $1,600, and then they said, "Well, we'll pay half. You pay half to get you in, and then we'll work on reunification." Well, at the time, I had signed a contract, and whatever transpired with that contract, it was non and void. They didn't accept it. So I went looking again. Well, I got hit with the Nigeria scam.
Oh, okay.
And
a long time ago, yep.
Oh, yeah. And the police department didn't even want to investigate that. So there goes my $1,600. While I was working before that, my soon-to-be ex-husband came into my work and attempted to jump over the counter to demand the $1,600 check that I was saving for the house. Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that if you are in that situation where your housing is not legitimate for them, I'm pretty sure there's funding available to get you into housing. They're supposed to offer that to you, and they definitely do not.
They offered it. They just didn't follow through.
All
their contracts were breached because of what they did, not because of what I did, not because of certain things with my parents. They breached every contract I had with them. And that also goes for my original son, too. It was supposed to be an open adoption, and it's been a closed adoption for 17 years.
Oh, my goodness.
In fact, my oldest son and my youngest son were born on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
My middle son was born on 4th of July, and my other son was born on June 22nd, which I consider the summer solstice, because I am not only Catholic. Now, I've been raised Catholic. Doesn't necessarily mean that I like to deal with their views. You know, I have been more spiritual in practicing my natural roots. And, you know, persecution goes way back, you know, to when this country was actually founded.
Right.
Not many people know, but my side of the family, from my grandmother's side, they are actually partially the settlers in Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
And some of them have actually been persecuted in the witch trials.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is an uphill battle that we've been fighting for years. It's not just with our children. Right. In fact, my grandmother did tell me that I am partially a daughter of the revolution.
Wow. That is really neat. That history that you have with your family. That is so cool.
History that they're tearing down and taking from us, taking from our children. I had the DCF tell me that I should lie to my children, not tell them the truth when their stepfather was in jail for domestically violencing me.
Yes, I went through the same thing.
They told my son not to even email the stepfather when he was in jail through the sheriff website, you know, because he was having a hard time coping, not having him around. Because my kids at the time, they loved him to an extent, but they didn't like the fighting. They didn't like the yelling. They didn't like the torment that they were going through. And, you know, I understand them. I understand because I've gone through it myself.
Right.
You know, my mother is legally blind. My stepfather's 83 with dementia. My father, I found out, was dead through Google when my mom asked for annulment papers. And they just recently settled his estate with me, which paid my mother's bills.
Right.
Because she fell on hard times. She broke her elbow. She broke her foot at the same time, walking the dog. And, the town of Jupiter just put lights on her street because of it. She's having a hard time finding a lawyer for it.
That's a shame.
I mean, Legal Aid Society gave her a lawyer, and she tried to fight for the children, but because her husband is I'll flat out say it, her husband's an abuser. You know, not just towards me, but towards her, towards, you know, the children that were in the situation. And he's in his own prison of a mind right now. So there's no chance of going and putting him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, he's 83 with dementia.
Right.
You know, he's reverting to a 2-year-old.
Oh,
And he's a diabetic, too. So that makes it even harder.
Right.
You know, and my mom legally blind. She's got corneal retinal damage and macular degeneration. She was fine up until she was 27, you know, and there are things that she has done that she will apologize for and things that she will not apologize for.
Mm-hmm.
We have a strained relationship, but, you know, if she had a chance to actually spend some time with her grandchildren, she would love that. But again, it's not up to me. It's up to the children. They have full reign over this. My children have asked me to gather the evidence. My children asked me to do this. They're the reason why I live and breathe every day. In fact, if you look above me, my 14-year-old son, he actually painted this. It's a picture of Stitch. We have a saying.
Okay, how cute. I love it.
We have 2 sayings. I love you to the moon and back. And then Ohana, which means nobody gets left behind. And that's basically my cause. No one gets left behind. These children should not be left behind. My children were not orphans. They were taken from me. They were under duress and corruption, and I will continue every day of my life to expose those people. And, you know, it doesn't help when the clerk of court is exposed in the Post. It doesn't help when, you know, Jeffrey Epstein's exposed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things like that. Things happen every day in this county. Good things, bad things, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, when you have people that don't stand up for you and make you feel alone and making you have to use your survival skills and losing everything that you have. I've had paintings of my grandmother's that went in a canal because my husband at the time got pissed off. My first son's journal that the adoptive parents gave me went in the trash in front of DCF because he got pissed off at the DCF worker and then came home and abused me.
Oh, no, that's not good.
I've had DCF workers try to run me over. I have a metal plate, 4 screws, and a pin in my right foot because a friend of mine was bringing us home from work and his brakes went out. And we don't even know who cut the brakes. Yeah. I ended up smashing into a telephone pole. My boyfriend almost died. When they pulled the car out, his bottom part of the seat was the only thing left.
Wow.
When I got out of the car, my foot broke and I fell into his arms. And he was screaming, get out the car, because it was on fire. And I still haven't seen no justice in that case either.
Wow.
Because the guy had a suspended license and no insurance.
Oh, okay.
I have had witnesses walk down the street with me and some jerk decides to roll up on the sidewalk and try to run me down the road. I've had to jump over fences, benches, drop my bike, everything.
Wow.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What is the reason that they are telling you is why do they feel that you shouldn't have your children? Because talking to you, I don't see why it would be an issue. You seem like you're a wonderful parent. What was there?
I am a great parent. I've done everything I possibly can to teach my children to how to survive through all of this the best way I can. For my 14-year-old son to find a way to contact me out of the blue 2 years ago, that must tell something, because obviously I'm doing something right because I taught him something that was important. As far as what I've been trying to do, in my life and do things like that, I'm sorry, it's so hard.
Yeah, it is so difficult. There's nothing worse than having your children taken from you.
It's worse than death. It's worse than death of a child. It's worse than a child living and not knowing where their parent is.
Right. What are some things that you do to cope with it? And because I almost lost my mind when I first had my daughter taken from me, and there were months where I couldn't get off the couch. I was so just devastated. What are some things that you do that keep you sane, that keep you going?
The first thought I think about every morning, every night is my children, how I can make them proud. They may not be with me, but I want them to eventually see this. I want them to know the truth. And the truth is that their mother never gave up on them. The truth is that, I do music therapy, frequencies. During my darkest part of the times, I was listening to Slipknot, Trent Reznor, Disturbed, alternative songs like that. I was listening to Snoop Dogg, of all people. I would do meditation. I'd go out to the beach. I go fishing with my boyfriend. My boyfriend does, he's starting his own charity, fishing for the DCF children.
That's wonderful.
Here in Palm Beach County. And he's actually originally from Lakeland. He's been with me for 4 years.
Okay.
He's done wonders to help me. I'll consider him my uncle. He's been with me since I was 10 years old. He's been through a lot with my childhood trauma. My second stepfather tried to sell me to him in a trailer park.
Wow.
Yeah. He, of course, my uncle, who I called my uncle at the time and still do, he picked him up and threw him down and broke a glass table, telling him never sell a child. And he's been an advocate for many, many years. He's been in Palm Beach County since 1979. He's put a lot of cops away for corruption, and he'll continue to do so.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
I do have brothers and sisters, from another mother all over the country who are fighting the same fight or are supporting us. I even tried a GoFundMe account during the case, and it didn't get off very well. They refused to give me whatever donations were given. And then, I just pray every night. You just got to live with it. I even went to Boys Town in Orlando, when I was a kid. And that's where I don't understand why I had a guardian ad litem for a lawyer, or even two for that matter. Why is the 4th Regional District representing me? When they're taking the evidence and using it against me and then showing up in the TPR case against me, having lunch with the judge, and, when I confronted my stepdad about a sexual assault on one of my children, which at this point we found that it was a story. You know, children tell stories, so
They absolutely do.
Sometimes they misconstrue things, and sometimes, you know, they try to tell it the best they can with their references, but of course certain adults don't want to listen to them.
And CPS, GCSF, they have a way of talking to children to get them to say what they want. They have a way of twisting everything around.
Oh yes,
putting stories in their head. And
they told my children, like your children, they'd go get ice cream. They'd go to the park. They'd go see their mother. They showed up to a few of my visits with 3 of my children, not 4, but 3. They've threatened to turn the car around. I've sat for 2-3 hours waiting on my children after I've taken a 2-hour bus ride. It's ridiculous, the hoops that they've made me go through.
Yeah.
I mean,
they make it to where it's almost impossible.
Oh yes, it's like a unicorn. You're chasing the unicorn, or in certain people's saying, imagine dragon. You're chasing the dragon here, you know.
Yeah, they really just. I mean, it's just kind of common sense. Like, how are you going to expect a family, parents to work and take care of a household, and if they're going to school or school programs after school or whatever, how do you expect them to do that? Plus, on top of that, now you want them to do counseling, drug classes, drug testing, one-on-one counseling. I mean, like, so much that they know you cannot do. And like you said, like, I lost my vehicle as well, and my housing at one point as well. And
honey, I've had no license. I've had no license and still know how to drive. And responsibly. I do not drink and drive. I do not walk and drive. I do not scooter and drive. I do not bike and drive. I know my limits. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know that this is disgusting. It's horrendous. I had a friend, God rest his soul, I got to say this. His name is Ryan Rogers. He was a good friend of mine. He was 14 years old, same age as my son, same age as that 14-year-old in the 8x8 box. Lived in the same town, and during Christmas, he was murdered. Flat out murdered by some guy who was homeless. Now, I've been homeless, and the homeless do help the homeless. Thank you to all the people that have helped me in the time of need. I got to get back to my community somehow. And, for this gentleman to come from another county to do this to this child, this innocent child, is horrific. And for him to sit and the DA asked for the death penalty on this. But yet, the two adoptive parents for the 14-year-old child were in the 8x8 box in the same town. Months later, they're out on bond the next day.
It's something, isn't it?
And that mother was a child teacher for a Catholic school here in town.
Unreal.
When are the Jupiter residents going to stand up for their children and speak for them? When are they going to tell the town council and the mayor that this is not right? Human trafficking needs to end in our town.
It needs to end everywhere.
Oh, yes. It needs to end, period. Yeah. I'm not saying that the children that are orphans, that do get abused, that do really need the help, we do need services for them. and the right services. And like you said, it took you a while to find the right services. I haven't even found the right services in the court's eyes for that.
Yeah.
Because no one is willing to work with me.
There really isn't. You know, we need better resources. You know,
yes,
our social workers need better resources and better training and
training. You want to talk about training? How about 40 hours worth of training, and the FSWs don't even get much than 3 hours, 4 hours worth of training, and the transporters only get 3 or 4 hours worth of training. How can you be a parent to children with special needs or no special needs? And by the way, my 8-year-old, when I had him, he didn't have any disabilities that I know of. So their doctors have misdiagnosed them. The doctors or the psychiatrists have misdiagnosed me. How the hell do I have 5 different diagnoses when I have an emotional trauma disorder, if you want to call it that, or mental anguish due to the court system? And the lack of resources and the lack of support and the lack of help from the family and the friends that didn't support me, that shut me out, that called me crazy, that tell me that I'm off my meds. And by the way, I haven't been on medication in the hospital when I broke my foot. And that wasn't involuntarily because I had surgery.
Wow. Well, we're running out of time here, but I wanted to give you a chance if there is anything you want to say for later when your kids eventually do end up seeing this.
Yes. Ryan, Michael, Trenton, Dante, Caleb, wherever you are, I support your beliefs. I support your constitutional rights. I want you to come home. You're more than welcome to. Anyone that finds my children and hears them say they want to come home to their mother has every right to bring them to me. They are to have my children call the police department and to tell them that they are going home and they are not a runaway. Any child that wants to go home has the right to go home. Any child that wants a voice and a choice, they have that right. And these legislators in Congress, and even the president who has the same disease as my stepdad, I'll say it, has the right to a lawyer, has the right to have a voice, has the right to a choice. They want to come home, they have the right to come home. They have every right to do everything they need to do. So come home, my children. I love you to the moon and back. I will never give up until the day they kill me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else that you feel like you need to say? Anything that maybe you would have done differently if you knew?
I would have learned my laws like I do now. I would have, and most people cannot afford a high-priced lawyer, but a lot of civil lawyers and a lot of human rights lawyers are starting to look into this all over. California, you know, I'm always a big fan. I want to come out there one day, and, you know, I'd love to continue working with you guys and any resources that you have. I'm well aware of certain ones, but not a lot. And I want to get this case back up in front of the Supreme Court. I want to do this right. And, you know, I need help. You know, my voice should not be shut out. My children should not be shut out.
Yes. I agree. I agree completely. Have you tried contacting Vince Davis? Have you tried like calling the radio show or anything?
The number that you have on the screen, I contacted after seeing your show, and I have commented on some of Vincent Davis's stuff and Miss G's stuff. Wonderful stuff, by the way, very knowledgeable stuff. I've learned a lot from you guys over the last few months, you know, and if anyone is willing, who's a lawyer that's willing to come here and help me take my case, I'm more up for it,
Yeah, it really helps to have a good attorney.
It really does, especially someone that knows what they're doing and have been through it before.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, Jennifer, thank you so very much for coming on the show. Thanks to the viewers. If anybody wants to be on the show, please give us a call. Let us know. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And Jennifer, thank you so much again.
Thank you guys, and enjoy your day.
Bye.